Okay, so I know how wrap-up videos are meant to go. You take the TBR that you made at the beginning of the month and you talk about how that went. Well, here the answer is poorly. So in my November TBR, I talked about 4 books I was going to read, and I have read 1 of them. The lucky book, the book that managed to actually be consumed this month, that's the dream of all books always, is How to Sound Cultured. This is 250 micro guides, like 3 pages each, to famous artists and writers and philosophers and name it. Famous names that you've always kind of heard and you've possibly tried to reference, but never really knew where it came from. It's a bit horrible histories-y. You get all the interesting information, mostly sex and death. I really liked this book because it was funny and because I honestly did feel like I learned something. I rated it slightly down from the top because I couldn't take the fun they poked at the intellectuals I actually liked. Basically, leave Baudelaire and Barthes alone. And apparently, it's not pronounced Baudelaire. That's like 5 videos I need to go back and dub. There was one other book that was kind of in that TBR that I read most of in November. I say was kind of in that TBR because it was the one covered in the mysterious black cloth, read My Cardigan. That was the mystery book, as revealed here, that Brock gave me. I won't say too much because I am going to make it its own individual video once I have finally finished reading it, but I'm loving it so much. China Miéville is such an amazing writer. There is really no one who writes quite like he does. So do forgive me, I read 628 pages. I've got like 170 left to go. I think I did well, considering that this book is so dense. The worlds China Miéville creates are so massive and complex. This basically took up my entire November. So did you really only read a book and a half in the whole of November? Well, I did listen to a book over November, and after all my hating on Amy Poehler and thinking I'd never read another comedian's autobiography, or at least no time soon, I ended up listening to another comedian's biography. Backstory by David Mitchell. I really don't know if you can see that at all. This is David Mitchell of Peep Show and that Mitchell and Webb look, sound fame. I really like him as a comedian, but really what persuaded me to get this audiobook, which made me go and download it instantly, was accidentally stumbling across a YouTube video. I might put the video here, you can just go listen to it yourself. This is what convinced me to go buy this book instantly. It's David Mitchell, he is narrating his own autobiography, talking about when he met his now wife, Victoria Coren. And it was so amazing, it was so brilliantly funny and ranty, but sweet and adorable, and it made my heart break in a good way. So yeah, I instantly went and downloaded the whole book and I've listened to the whole book and it's great. I really love it. I might listen to it again. I know he's got another book out. I think it's a collection of columns he's written for newspapers. I really wish that was an audiobook too, and again, narrated by him. As well as loving the way he writes, I also love the way he speaks. He's very good with his weighting, with his timing. Makes things funny. Surprising for a comedian. So you can understand how that book accidentally got read. It snuck in, I just had to listen to it. There's another one that snuck in. That is All of the Above by James Dawson, which I went to the launch for and he signed for me and everything. It was like the happiest day of all our lives. So because, you know, I am a glutton for punishment, I kind of took on a part-time job almost. I now do some magical social media-y stuff for Maximum Pop Books, which I was really happy to get the opportunity to do. It's a site I've always really loved. It gives away tons and tons of amazing books. So in November they did a lot of stuff about All of the Above, including get people to review it, interview James Dawson, and I realised it couldn't be put off any longer. I had to finally read this book. And I'm so glad I did. Although possibly not on a public train. That was a bad idea. Some books should definitely come with warnings, you know, do not read this in public, you will be sobbing / laughing your actual arse off. This did both of those things. So it starts contemporary YA, new girl has to start at a new sixth form, used to the city, now has to live at a tiny seaside town. But it's awesome, but then it crams in all of the awesome. It is such a breath of fresh air to read books like this and characters like this, where diverse characters are the norm. There are characters in this who are not white, characters who are not straight, characters with various mental health problems. And there's Polly Wolf, who is the best character ever. I literally love her so much. I want to be her, that's possibly not right, but I love her. I definitely love her. Yeah, in this book I would be following Polly Wolfe around with like the hugest crush in the world ever. Also there's crazy golf and complex but beautifully romantic relationships, and our main character writes poetry, which I really, really love. Basically, at times it can be quite a hard read. I think there were points where I was cursing James Dawson for the evil god of books he is, but it is a book I raced through and really couldn't get enough of. Finally, what of the 2 books I promised to read in November and didn't read in November? Those were, of course, Career of Evil and In Order to Live. Well, you're gonna just have to tune in tomorrow, where I'm gonna put up my December TBR, and you can see what on earth I might read then. Anyway guys, let me know in the comments if you had any strong feelings about what I read this month, if you've read any of them or want to read any of them. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow. Bye guys. I wrote about keys between worlds and monster-killing road trips and stories in which almost everyone was a werewolf. And sometimes it wasn't even a Scrabble for those 50,000. I mean, don't get me wrong.